February 8, 1945. Reichswald Forest, Germany. The ground is soaked and cold. Pines stand in dark rows, branches beaded with moisture. Engines idle behind low banks of earth. Tarpaulins lift. Churchills roll forward in a slow line. Behind several two-wheeled armored trailers nod over ruts, coupled by a rigid drawbar. A hand signal passes. The driver's foot steadies. There is a short, rising hiss as valves open and pressure moves. A flame jet snaps from the tank's hull. A compact ribbon of orange and white pushed hard into the dark. It strikes an embrasure. Smoke and heat fill the entrance. The trench line ahead shifts from invisible to visible in a single beat. German soldiers who had spent the night under a canopy of wet trees find themselves in daylight at the wrong hour. A searing, artificial dawn delivered on command. Operation Veritable, driving through the Reichswald to the Rhine, commences. The forest fieldworks, wire, and concrete strongpoints make infantry advance costly. Specialized 79th Armored Division armor, including Churchill Crocodiles, flails, and AVRES, deployed. Crocodiles resemble ordinary tanks until their hull-mounted, trailer-fed flame projector activates. A Churchill 7 variant, it replaced its hull MG with a flame nozzle, strengthened tow point, and armored belly piping. The two-wheel trailer holds about 400 imperial gallons of thickened fuel, propelled by compressed nitrogen bottles. Training shows approximately 80 short bursts per trailer. In practice, crews judge by range, wind, and effect. Crocodiles fill the gap where artillery/HE fail to quickly neutralize fortified positions. Pillboxes, casemates withstand shell fire. Concrete breaks slowly. Infantry face heavy losses at grenade range. British experience, Normandy channel ports, showed precise high-pressure flame through slits, doors ends resistance with less loss. This explains the flame tank's presence here, night into morning in a winter forest. German soldiers come into this moment with expectations set by months and years of fighting. Night reduces exposure. Darkness gives cover to movement. A trench or a bunker is not invulnerable, but its habits are known. The pulse and lift of a flare, the rolling interval of artillery, the arcs of machine guns. Flamethrowers exist in their memory, man-portable weapons carried by assault teams, but those look and feel close, short-ranged, dependent on men stepping into fields of fire where they can be cut down. A flame projector on a heavy tank is not in that mental map. When the Crocodile throws its first burst, the change is immediate. The light removes concealment. The air itself changes as hot gases push into enclosed spaces. There is little interval between seeing the source and feeling its effect. The sudden, overwhelming nature of the attack shatters the defender's sense of security and control. British manuals emphasize technique. War Office training notes state plane parameters. Effective flame range in the region of 100 to 120 yards. Optimal approach on solid ground. Use short bursts to conserve fuel and strike in squirts at doors and embrasures. Coordinate with infantry and smoke. Keep the trailer covered. Avoid presenting the pipeline to enemy fire. Film reels prepared for instruction demonstrate the sequence without flourish. Approach, aim, burst, assess, move. Operational reports add what cannot be captured in diagrams. The moral effect is out of all proportion to casualties inflicted. That line appears in several forms from Normandy to the Rhineland. It is a measured sentence from officers counting results. A recognition that the weapon's true power lay in its ability to break the enemy's will to fight. The hiss is part of the method. Before the flame lights, pressure moves. An Allied maintenance staff sergeant can trace that sound backwards in his head. Nitrogen bottles filled at a depot, valves seated, hoses tightened, igniters tested, fuel thickened correctly and filtered. The hiss is a small sign of a large supply chain that reaches from refinery and assembly workshop to a mud road under a German forest. It is an industrial note. It represents coordinated effort, predictable output, and the ability to keep many specialized machines working every day. In that sense, it stands as a symbol here, not a spectacle, but of abundance used in a directed way. Free societies build this capacity and keep it steady. In battle, that steadiness becomes a tactical advantage. This is how abundance actually sounds in war. Not grand, but consistent and functional. Normandy was the first broad theater for crocodile work. Around Caen, flame tanks proved their value against concrete strong points set into villages and orchards. At Le Havre in September 1944, crocodiles moved with infantry into trench networks and knocked out blockhouses that had sat through aerial bombardment. The British official history notes that flame induced surrender where shells had not. At Walcheren in November, on a flooded island guarding the Scheldt, crocodiles crossed causeways under fire and burned casemate interiors that overlooked channels. Canadian reports from that operation described defenders abandoning nearby positions the moment flame arrived, even before their own embrasures were targeted. These were not the only fights. In November, during Operation Clipper at Geilenkirchen, British crocodiles supported the U.S. 84th Infantry Division against the West Wall. American after-action notes recorded the effects succinctly. Flame tanks neutralized pillboxes quickly, reduced infantry casualties, prompted numerous surrenders. Through early 1945 in the Rhineland, crocodiles worked with British and Canadian units, lane by lane. The method is consistent. Smoke blinds a section of a trench or strong point. An infantry platoon suppresses machine guns that can rake the approach. The crocodile closes to range. The hiss lifts. The stream strikes. Men come out with their hands up. The remaining positions lose cohesion. The weapon's physical effect is straightforward. The fuel is thickened to adhere. Under pressure, it travels as a tight stream in a flat arc, then breaks and spreads on impact. In open ground, it scorches. In enclosed spaces, it displaces air and creates heat and smoke that deny habitation. An embrasure struck properly sends flame inwards. A door hit properly makes the interior unworkable. The jet itself does not melt steel. It does not need to. This is not myth. It is controlled combustion applied to a specific opening. German countermeasures develop as the crocodile becomes known. Field orders emphasize shooting at the trailer coupling and the pipe under the tank's belly. Wire screens and baffles are fitted over embrasures to break up a stream. Alternate exits are cut to avoid being sealed in. Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck teams drill to hit the hull from a flank when the tank slows to fire. Some German flamethrower tanks exist, Flampanzer variants of Panzer III among them, and German troops are not unfamiliar with flame in concept. But by late 1944, the balance of conditions favors the attacker. Allied air power reduces daylight movement for defenders. Fuel shortages limit German counterattacks. Veteran NCOS are fewer. Countermeasures help, but often too late or too thinly applied. Flame arrives with infantry and artillery support, not alone. It is a piece of a combined system rather than a solo act. The crocodile's range figures, effective out to roughly 110 meters, come with context. Ground condition matters. Wind pushes the stream offline. Crew training is significant. Instructors teach economy. Do not waste fuel on dramatic long bursts. Place short, targeted jets. A practice range gives a crew habits that carry into battle. One British instructor's note reads, "Short squirt at slit, evaluate, repeat." It is not literature. It is procedure. American forces draw lessons and build their own solutions. In the Pacific, the U.S. Marine Corps and Army adapt flamethrowers to tanks. On Saipan, the M3 Satan carries a turret flamethrower. On Iwo Jima and Okinawa, M4 Shermans received flamethrower conversions, often referred to informally as Zippos. Napalm, the thickener developed by American chemists, gives the flame new consistency and range. Japanese defenses in caves see the same pattern. Short bursts that deny air and space, followed by silence. Marine and Army reports emphasize that flame simplifies what would otherwise be prolonged, close combat. While this is another theater, it echoes the European experience and confirms that flame's primary effect is to remove the defender's confidence in the safety of enclosure. The moral argument around flame is not avoided in official documents. The British did not describe the crocodile in euphemism. They emphasized its effectiveness and noted its risks. German documents do the same. Fear is a fact in both. What changes over months is less a matter of spectacle and more a matter of confidence. The German faith in fortification as a way to control tempo and loss, already under stress from heavy artillery and air interdiction, loses another support when flame appears with regularity. Surrender increases at certain points not because men forget duty, but because they make a calculation. This method of assault leaves little space for attrition tactics inside a bunker. The Allied shift in perception is different but parallel. Commanders who might have hesitated to order direct assaults on a fortified village become more willing when crocodiles are available. Infantry confidence increases when they know they are not required to clear each concrete room with hand grenades alone. Limits remain clear. Crocodiles are not invulnerable. The trailer connection can be severed. The armored hose under the hull can be cut. If the igniter fails, the projector may send unlit fuel. The tank's speed is limited. On broken ground, a Churchill can bog. When it is firing, it presents itself and must slow. A well-placed anti-tank gun or a squad with Panzerfaust can end its run. In the Reichswald, crocodiles are lost to such hits. Crews die doing a difficult job. Allied reports caution against overuse. The weapon is a tool in a set, not a cure for every obstacle. Still, across the Western Front in 1944-45, the record shows that flame shortened certain kinds of fights. At strong points near Le Havre, at Walcheren's casemates along the Siegfried Line, and in the Reichswald, operations with crocodiles produce higher prisoner counts and lower attacker casualties than comparable assaults without them. Moral effect is not a vague word in this context. It describes a measurable change in outcome. In a war of logistics and attrition, shortening fights while conserving infantry lives is a decisive quality. What can be taken from this without sentiment is a line of connection. The hiss that is our symbol ties the front to the rear and the many to the one. It is a small sound that represents a larger capacity, the ability of a free people to organize resources, skills, and machines for a defined end, and to do so steadily. In wartime, that end is lethal. The argument for its use is not pretty, but it is clear. Shorten fights, spare lives that would otherwise be spent against concrete. The men who faced flame understood what their options were. The men who used flame understood what it could and could not do. When the war passed, the skill and supply that had pushed flame through a nozzle turned to other uses. The lesson about abundance remained. Freedom in this sense is not only an ideal, it is a capacity, prosaic, organized, repeatable, to meet hard problems with the right tools, in numbers sufficient to decide them. In a winter forest, that capacity sounded like pressure moving through a line, a brief hiss before the job began, and it turned a night meant for hiding into a day that advanced.